Live from KSAT 12, the Nightbeat starts right now.
Bexar County is already approaching nearly 300,000 ballots cast during early voting so far. That comes to about 48,000 people voting per day. The night team Zaria Oates caught up with some people at the polls today who told her why they feel it is so important to get out and vote early.
Registered voters can vote at any polling location, making the last week of early voting a pretty enticing option.
Yeah, it's just easier to get out here earlier than come just on the one day.
Oh, I think it's going to be super packed on Election Day.
More than 250,000 people cast their ballot during the first week of early voting. Spectacular is how Bexar County election officials referred to this year's record-breaking numbers.
Having your voice be heard?
I'd agree. Just letting your voice be heard and getting your viewpoint out there.
You still have until this Friday, November 1st, to cast your ballot early, as long as you're registered to vote and have a valid form of identification. The polls will be open from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. each night this week, and you can vote at any polling location in the county during the early voting window.
Just get out there and vote, because if you don't, then you don't really have a say in what goes on in the government. I hear so many people out there complaining, but they don't vote.
Whether you do it early or whether you do it by mail or whether you do it on the 5th of November, just do it.
Zaria Oates, KSAT 12 News.
Can't complain if you can't vote. So many more voting resources are on our website, KSAT.com. Things like sample ballots, a list of polling locations. You can even check with polling places that are the busiest before you head out the door to vote. To stay in the loop, all things election related, just scan that QR code right there on your screen or follow along on the Vote 2024 page on our website, KSAT.com. Well, she is from states away, but keeps a deep connection with the town of Uvalde. Sammy McGee was just 15 when the massacre happened at Robb Elementary, and we've reported before that year she made her Girl Scout project a toy drive for the families there. Now she does it every year and is ramping up the efforts. This year's toy giveaway was this weekend, and she came to Uvalde to help distribute hundreds of toys and hold a big fun event for the whole community, and she will not be stopping there.
This year, we've actually started doing an angel tree, and I'm working with my church to provide the families with Christmas gifts.
And she's already starting on next year's fall toy drive as well, and would love help from anyone who's interested. If you want to get involved, you can head to sammystoydrive.com. Well, it has now been 3 weeks since Suzanne Simpson disappeared near her home in Olmos Park. The realtor and mother of 4 was last seen walking away from her home with her husband, Brad Simpson, who's since been jailed on several charges, still none related to her disappearance. In the last 3 weeks, Olmos Park police, county, and state investigators have combed through several places looking for any sign of Suzanne. Their home, the surrounding woods in Olmos Park, and a landfill in southeast Bexar County were the main areas where investigators closely zoomed in. As for Brad Simpson, he's still in jail, facing charges of domestic violence, tampering with evidence, and a weapons charge. His total bail adds up to about $3 million. If you know anything about Suzanne's disappearance, or if you have any details that could help investigators find her, call the Olmos Park Police Department. These are just 3 numbers on your screen that you can use to help. All this information posted on our website, KSAT.com. New on the Nightbeat, a ray of hope and root in research of an entirely way of thinking about suicide prevention. Both experts and patients tell me that it's already saving lives. Retired Air Force veteran Nancy Dickinson spent years deployed in war zones like Iraq.
We're getting bombed all day, all night.
She brought back that trauma when she retired and settled here in San Antonio.
It was going to go downhill fast. I dealt with the suicide.
Now she's getting an innovative therapy that's changed her life.
We've historically thought of suicide as a symptom of mental illness or an outcome of mental illness, even though the majority of people who die by suicide do not have mental illness.
Dr. Craig Bryan is a psychiatrist, professor, and researcher at The Ohio State University, but works closely with UT Health San Antonio's Strong Start program, focusing on military mental health.
Prevent suicide
At a San Antonio conference, he got to present years of research and a therapy called Brief Cognitive Behavior Therapy for Suicide Prevention, or BCBT. Just 10 to 12 sessions focusing on stress response, not solely on anxiety, depression, or PTSD.
We look at how do you react or respond to stressful situations. How do you think about yourself, about the situations that you're in, and we help people to identify those unhelpful patterns.
They practice and rehearse coping strategies.
Over time, a person then starts to react and respond. You still get upset, life happens, but people make different decisions.
It's perhaps the gold standard.
They include crisis planning, an exact checklist of what to do if thoughts get negative.
It's remarkably effective. It reduces suicide attempts by like 76% as compared to traditional suicide prevention strategies.
And if patients do have mental health conditions like PTSD, they also treat those appropriately at the same time. The treatment's so promising, it's partly funded by the military.
Many service members and veterans are volunteering for research studies.
It's a full circle of progress, but it is slow. How is this being integrated, and is it soon enough?
So it's not currently being integrated. That's, I think, one of the key problems.
Dickinson, hoping that changes.
And I still go to counseling. I am still on PTSD meds.
But it's changed your life.
It has changed my life.
Meanwhile, Dr. Bryan's team is already training clinicians on this therapy. UT Health San Antonio has created the infrastructure for that, and USAA Foundation is funding it. Well, this fire in New Braunfels demanded the attention of several fire departments this afternoon. Here's what we know. Smoke was spotted near the Cemex plant just south of New Braunfels around 4 this afternoon. Several KSAT viewers sent in videos and pictures of the fire. We did reach out to New Braunfels Fire Department to figure out what may have caused it, but we still haven't heard back. After an E. coli scare, McDonald's announced they're resuming the sale of Quarter Pounders in all of its restaurants. An outbreak of E. coli linked to the menu item sickened at least 75 people in 13 different states. One person even died from the bacteria. Last week, the CDC issued a food safety alert. They and other federal agencies are still trying to figure out the source of the outbreak. The FDA believed slivered onions or beef patties were the source, but tests have shown the beef was not impacted. Thousands of people made their way downtown today for Day 2 of Muertos Fest. Dozens of altars were scattered all over Hemisphere for families, loved ones, and strangers to pay respects to friends, family, and even pets who have passed away. If you missed this weekend's festivities, don't worry. We're airing a special broadcast of the whole event next Wednesday on all of our KSAT platforms. It was beautiful, even though the weather was pretty toasty.
It was toasty, especially for late October standards. I know we had a lot of our colleagues and coworkers go out there, and whenever they got back to the station, that's exactly what they said. Plenty of sunshine in the afternoons. It just helped temperatures top off in the upper 80s and even low 90s across the San Antonio area earlier this afternoon. Take a look at your Monday. More of the same is generally in store. We're going to start off in the mid 60s in the Alamo City. I think it's possible that we see a little bit of cloud cover build back in, and perhaps even some areas of patchy fog, especially across our southeastern counties and the coastal plains. Wherever that morning cloud cover develops, it should start to break up and scatter out a bit more into the afternoon. Upper 70s around lunchtime. That daytime high still warmer than average by 5 to 10 degrees. A high temperature right around 87 in town. So this week will start warm and dry. However, we are expecting some changes to work back in the form of a few isolated rain chances that return to the forecast as early as Tuesday. A few spotty showers will be possible into Halloween this coming Thursday, but also high temperatures are still expected to stay unseasonably warm, or to the tune of mid 80s by Halloween itself. There are indications, however, that we could find some cooler temperatures and perhaps even some better rain chances into the first full week of November. We're going to get you all those details and talk about those potentials coming up a little bit later on.
It's very difficult to get a Lamborghini dealership.
A difficult and competitive process ending right here in San Antonio. The Alamo City is now home to the newest Lamborghini dealership. Coming up at 10:30, what it took to bring the luxury brand to town and why the city of San Antonio was just too good to pass up. plus a return to normalcy. It's now been a month since Hurricane Helene wreaked havoc on the southeastern part of the U.S. Coming up, we check in to see how people in North Carolina are faring.
Day of the Dead dates back to pre-Columbian, pre-Hispanic, indigenous traditions in Mexico. The Aztecs, as they conquered people, incorporated their traditions into the Aztec pantheon. So we know that these are borrowings from Mesoamerican peoples. So one of the questions is why these dates? October 31st, November 1st, November 2nd. It is because that the ancient calendar, the ancient sacred calendar, these are what are known as cross-quarter days. They fall exactly between fall equinox and winter solstice. So this is exactly the midpoint. And it is understood by ancient peoples that this is the moment when the veil that separates the world of the living and the world of the dead is at its thinnest. What's interesting, of course, is that it's not unique only to Mexico, this moment of linking back to ancestors. So it happens that in Japan and Shinto traditions it's Obon, in Celtic traditions it's Samain. As the sun is losing the battle and the night is gaining, it's universally felt that this is the resurgence of the domain of the dead and our ancestors.
It has now been a month since Hurricane Helene wreaked havoc on the Carolinas. Tens of billions of dollars worth of damage was dealt all over the southeast. Eastern North Carolina bearing the brunt of that disaster. John Lawrence reports cleanup efforts continue. People in Asheville are ready for some sort of return to normalcy.
This flood hit 27. I mean, you can see the flood water mark.
Hurricane Helene is long gone, but the aftermath remains.
There was some video of an area that I knew intimately in Western North Carolina, and when they sent the video, I didn't know what I was looking at. And it was stunning to me to see this area that I grew up in, that I knew, that I no longer recognized.
On Saturday, Eric Church and nearly a dozen other musical acts held a benefit concert in Charlotte to help the victims of the storm.
We got a platform, and if God's going to give us this ability to use that platform to raise money for people who need it, that's the best thing you can do in life.
Show officials say all proceeds will go to hurricane relief efforts, including businesses trying to get reestablished.
We've done $18,000 of refunds so far. So I'm like taking the money that we've raised for rebuilding the restaurant and just using it to refund the hotel rooms.
As for the week ahead, students in Asheville are returning to the classroom with a modified schedule.
The focus isn't going to be jumping right back into academics, but really taking time to connect with their friends, to get back into a sense of normalcy in a gradual way. And then on Wednesday, we'll be back to our full schedules.
I'm John Lawrence reporting.
It says none of the district schools were damaged in the storm. Thankfully, all of them have working electricity and internet. Water is also running, but like many parts of the city, it is not yet safe to drink. Just so many things they are still dealing with. I know a lot of people just move on if it's not affecting us, but we know as we've dealt with our own hurricanes that it's still a lot of work to be done.
And it just takes a lot of time to pick up the pieces.
Yeah.
That was one instance where, of course, too much rain fell in too little time. Back
on
here
the other
at
end.
home, it's the opposite problem, right? It has been now 51 days since San Antonio has seen measurable rainfall. The last time we saw measurable rainfall officially at the airport was back on September 5th. And keep in mind, September September and October, respectively, are the second and third wettest months on average for San Antonio. So this 51 makes the longest stretch since 1996 without measurable rainfall. The record, if you were curious, 63 days set back in 1993. So we continue to add on to that total. I think we could add on to it again tomorrow, but then notice at least we have a few changes in the form of rain chances that work back in this week. A 20% potential for a few isolated showers back in the forecast Tuesday and into Wednesday. Then we're going to bump it up to a 30% chance on Halloween and into Friday. A few isolated chances continue into next weekend as well. So let's go ahead and talk about why. Right now you can see we are quiet here in San Antonio and across the vast majority of the state of Texas. That's all thanks to this high pressure system that's currently situated off to our west. That's going to slide eastward here over the next couple of days in control tomorrow and into Tuesday before working its way into the eastern half of the lower 48. That will then leave just enough room for a low pressure system moving across the northern tier to allow a cold front to work into the state of Texas. As of right now, this front looks to stall just to the north of San Antonio by Halloween itself, but still the energy associated with that boundary combined with thicker moisture in place is what's going to help spark up that 30% chance for a few spotty showers really Thursday and into Friday. It's possible by the time all is said and done for those that do cash into a little bit of rain, rainfall totals as of this forecast up to 1/4 of an inch to 1/2 of an inch will certainly be a possibility. The big thing to know for Halloween is really just a few light spotty showers will be possible. Some of that you may need to dodge here and there, but it is not looking to be a washout by any means. Because that front doesn't quite make it to San Antonio, it is still expected to be a warm day. High temperatures in the mid 80s, which means no jackets are needed. A big difference compared to what we saw last year on Halloween. And by the time you're stepping out for trick-or-treating, upper 70s, near 80 degrees. That's what we are expecting here in town, especially around sunset. It was a bit hotter than that out there earlier today. Check this out, the almanac data for this Sunday. 90 degrees was our official high temperature here in San Antonio. Not only is that 11 degrees above the average for this time of year, but it was also just 1 degree shy of the record of 91 that was set back in 1980. Now, right now, because we have mostly clear skies in place, temperatures have been able to fall. We're sitting at 80 degrees right now here in San Antonio. Through the overnight hours, we are expecting those temperatures to fall back into the 60s. We'll wake up to around 65 degrees by 7 a.m. Low 60s across our southeastern counties, potentially even some upper 50s as you get into portions of the hill country. 59 in Comfort as well as Bernie, 63 in Castroville, 64 up I-35 in New Braunfels. A little bit of morning cloud cover will certainly be a possibility. Perhaps a few instances of patchy fog across the coastal plains. We'll start to see that break up by lunchtime. We've got a forecast temperature in the upper 70s right around noon. There's that forecast high point at around 87 here officially in San Antonio. 90 in Floresville, 88 out east in Seguin, 87 in Canyon Lake, and 84 the forecast high tomorrow in Helotes. As we start to see a little bit more of that cloud cover work back in, high temperatures could come down a touch. By the second half of the week, still slightly warmer than average. And of course, we'll be monitoring for those spotty rain chances. By the way, I do want to show you this. This is the 6 to 10 day precipitation outlook issued by the Climate Prediction Center for the first few days of November, suggesting that we could see above average rainfall, at least some better rain chances moving into a good chunk of the state of Texas. It's possible that could be accompanied by some cooler temperatures. Courtney, coming up in the next half hour, we're going to walk you through those changes and what we'll really be monitoring over the next 7 days.
You finally have something to monitor.
Isn't it great?
I'm so happy for you.
Thank you.
And for us, those little raindrops on the forecast graphic.
It's a nice change of scenery on the 7 day.
It really is. Thank you. We'll be right back. After a not-so-quiet bye week, the Dallas Cowboys return to action tonight. And while the Houston Texans won a key AFC South matchup, they may have lost one of their top receivers. For a preview of what's on Instant Replay tonight, here's Larry Ramirez. Never a dull moment.
No, and and it's that dreaded non-contact injury.
Yes.
Oh, I didn't power up my microphone?
Turn the microphone on. Don't make me say all the sports words, Larry.
Am I brand new at this? I just turned it on.
Am I going to
not working?
that good? Can y'all hear me now?
Yeah,
all right, hey,
there we go.
We're live. Gotta love it, right? Stephon Diggs leads the Houston Texans with 42 receptions, but he might not be adding to those numbers anytime soon. Coming up tonight on Instant Replay.
I'm fortunate to see Steph go down there. He's still being evaluated for a knee, so we'll really find out further information as the week goes on.
Texans wide receiver Stephon Diggs hurt his right knee on this play today against the Colts, a non-contact injury. Now the Houston Texans wait and see how badly he's hurt and how much time he might miss. The positive, the Texans beat the Colts 23-20 to remain in control of the AFC South.
Dumping it down to Wemby. He falls. Brooks is there. Him and Brooks fighting for it. Watch out. Watch out now.
The agitator Dylan Brooks had a little dust-up with Wemby and the Spurs last night, but the Silver and Black did not back down as they beat the Rockets 109-106, improving to 1-1 on the young season. We got game-winning reaction coming up.
I'm close. I'm close to returning. November 1st was just a date we threw out there to say that we're going to get reassessed, but trust me, we're super close.
Spurs shooting guard, small forward Devin Vassell is yet to suit up this season as he comes back from off-season foot surgery. But that didn't stop us from sitting down with Vassell, and Mary Rominger will have more. Plus, Texas is down and Texas A&M is up in the latest college football AP poll. And we have a brand new 12's Top 12 plus the best of big game coverage coming up tonight at 11. And I'll make sure my microphone's on.
That's just, that's pro status. Why we love you, Larry. Also, I'm really glad Mia's not mic'd up because she can't brag about her Aggies like that.
Right.
She's right here. I see her face. Thanks, Larry. All right, it's a competitive process ending right here in San Antonio. Why the Alamo City is home to the newest Lamborghini dealership and what makes it different from the others already operating in Texas. Coming up.
A new dealership along I-10 has some doing a double take. Lamborghini San Antonio officially opened this summer, and with only 42 dealerships in the country, some may be wondering why or how San Antonio got one.
We definitely were. That's why KSAT producer Pachata Pope spoke with the chairman and CEO of Lamborghini, who says San Antonio is the perfect city for this. She also spoke with the director of the city's economic development department, who says San Antonio's appeal is attracting companies far and wide.
Lamborghini now at full throttle in the Alamo City. Lamborghini San Antonio officially opening the doors of the brand new 40,000 plus square foot dealership and service center, joining Dallas, Houston, and Austin as exclusive Texas cities to have one. But the dealership here stands out from the others because it's the largest Lamborghini dealership in the nation.
It's very difficult to get a Lamborghini dealership, and it's a competitive process.
Bruce Knox, managing partner of the dealership, knows firsthand how much work it is to bring a global brand and operation to Texas. He happens to be the managing partner of Lamborghini Austin, and he had an intricate role in bringing Formula One racing to Austin via the Circuit of the Americas.
He's getting towards Max Verstappen now, tries to cover him off and pushes him to the left-hand side.
But Lamborghini, they want to expand, and they want to expand in key growth markets.
The dealership's grand opening highlighted by the regional debut of the new hybrid supercar, the Lamborghini Temerario. During the honors, the chairman and CEO himself of Automobili Lamborghini, Stefan Winkelmann, making the trip all the way from Italy.
San Antonio is a big city, and we already have dozens of cars of Lamborghini driving around here. So it's the right moment to open up the fourth dealership here in Texas.
It's why the partnership headed by the Vega family proposed San Antonio to Lamborghini's North American office and ultimately persuading corporate leadership.
As our headquarters in Italy, but we have our regional office, which is taking care of the Americas in Washington, D.C. So they know where the opportunities are in terms of business, where there are customers, and therefore we decide if there is enough space to open up a dealership without jeopardizing the job of the other dealerships around the country.
Knox says the city has worldwide appeal.
I think it really should tell the city that San Antonio is on the global map.
We're seeing a lot of growth. The pipeline has been pretty robust.
Brenda Hicks Sorensen, San Antonio's Economic Development Department Director, says San Antonians shouldn't be surprised our city is making the cut when it comes to global and national companies expanding here or coming here to set up shop. She points to Toyota bringing its $500+ million expansion project here. It could have been awarded somewhere else.
Steady. Dig.
And in June, JCB, the world's largest privately owned construction, agricultural, and industrial equipment manufacturing company, broke ground on a new 400-acre facility. Hicks Sorensen explains one of the driving forces behind the investment boom is the city's population growth that's adding to the local workforce.
We're the fastest growing city in the United States. 20,000 residents just this past year, over 100,000 in the past 3 years.
According to the U.S. Census, San Antonio is home to close to 1.5 million people. Something else that's making San Antonio attractive? Growth in its target industries. That's bringing big salaries that can offer financial upward mobility.
Bioscience and aviation, aerospace, automotive, of course, solid presence here. But then IT security and cyber, sustainable energy, the average salary range in those sectors tend to be anywhere from 70 to 100,000. And then, of course, that's the average. So it's much more, upward.
Paying attention to all of this are consumer-based businesses.
Retailers tend to locate where people are locating. Like our gross domestic product as a community continues to show consistent growth. It rose 6.81% from 2022 to 2023.
Hicks Sorensen says San Antonio's economic momentum has shifted into a higher gear, but stresses the investments happening now are priming the economy for a more robust future.
It's not going to happen overnight, but it's definitely something that we're starting to see.
And Knox says that tracks.
We have 6 acres here next to us, so having Lamborghini, adding a couple more dealerships, and then having car storage as well. So an automotive campus, if you will. We invested in the future, not looking at tomorrow, but looking 10 years from today.
Pashada Pope, KSAT 12 News.
A lot of companies are doing that. Look, not just looking now, but looking years into the future. I feel like we keep hearing this, but it's pretty cool when it's Lamborghini.
It is pretty neat.
Considering, in case you were wondering, Lamborghini's hybrid new models cost anywhere from $258,000 to $604,000.
It's a little bit above my price range.
So, I feel like the fact that they're bringing so much effort here means that there's a lot of money in our economy to be spending. It's very positive outlook.
And it just, I guess, also kind of paints the picture of how many people we have kind of moving into this area as well. So
if you just moved here, thanks for helping us get a Lamborghini
dealership. I'm going to have to look out for that next time that I go up I-10.
I haven't seen it either.
I don't think I have. Now I'm going to be like, okay, where's the, it's pretty neat.
I heard you can't miss it. So
there you go.
Okay, let's shift. What else we can't miss is the number of days we haven't had rain.
51
days.
I
know you guys have to keep counting this.
I know.
Horrible.
Hopefully we can break that stretch, though, this week with at least a few spotty rain chances returning to the forecast. We are quiet, though, right now. Temperatures right around 80 degrees here in San Antonio. But if you walked outside this afternoon, you know that it did not feel like late October. Take a look at high temperatures across the region today. Because we saw more sunshine return this afternoon, upper 80s and low 90s were the common theme. Even Carrizo Springs hit 95 degrees this afternoon, 94 in Del Rio, a few mid to upper 80s across the hill country, mainly for places like Rock Springs, Kerrville, as well as Fredericksburg. Now, so far, our average temperature for the month of October this year, taking all the morning lows, all of the daytime highs, averaging them together over these 27 days, days, 78.2 degrees. That actually makes this October the hottest October on record so far, now above 1931 when we had an average temperature of 78. So it's possible with more warmer than average daytime highs in the forecast over the next couple of days, rounding out the month through Halloween, that we could continue to sit at the top of this list. But again, right now we're starting to see those temperatures fall into the 70s and low 80s. We're going to start off tomorrow morning in the 60s. And yes, we at least have a few isolated rain chances in the forecast this week. We'll have another full check at that extended forecast coming up in just a few.
That's for sure. After several teenagers in the region were poisoned by fentanyl-laced pills, law enforcement and local families want you to know what the pills look like. And they want you to talk to your family about fentanyl. We'll tell you how after the break. A string of fentanyl poisonings has law enforcement and devastated community members on high alert. This past Monday, 3 teenagers in Kyle were poisoned by pills laced with fentanyl. 1 died and 2 were hospitalized. We also did confirm a separate 17-year-old in Hays County died from fentanyl poisoning a full week ago. All of that a week after a San Antonio man almost died of fentanyl poisoning. I spoke to 2 mothers who lost their children to fentanyl years ago, and they want parents to know the drugs are still out there.
Have the conversations with your kids. You cannot risk this. It will cost you your life.
Kathy Drago lost her son to fentanyl poisoning over 2 years ago, but every loss she's seen since breaks her heart just as much. Most recently, that panic happened October 12th here in San Antonio.
A dear friend of mine's son was poisoned by fentanyl.
He survived, but barely. Then on Monday in Kyle, outside of Austin, 3 teenagers took these pills that Kyle police say were laced with fentanyl. 1 died and 2 were hospitalized. Police now warning the public about these blue pills with an M on one side and a 30 on the other.
They're calling them Perk 30s. They're supposed to be Percocet. They actually look more like oxycodone.
Christina Villagrana keeps up with these batches to keep the community aware. She also lost her son to fentanyl poisoning a couple years ago.
It's just like a gut punch.
It's cases like these that led Drago and Villagrana to form an advocacy organization. Their life's mission to educate, often with urgency.
To get this out there immediately, because there's obviously a batch out there that is in San Antonio and is also in Kyle and Hays County.
The moms work closely with the DEA and know these poisonings typically come in waves.
We rarely hear of a wave coming through when one person is poisoned. It's typically, at least 5 or more. And the last time this happened, it happened in Austin when we lost 11 people in a matter of 36 hours.
They're taking this information and in age-appropriate presentations, teaching kids the truth.
We're partnering with the DEA tomorrow to go into 8 middle schools.
Middle school's young.
Middle school's really young, but it's a conversation we have to have. We know parents that have lost 14, 15-year-old kids.
They beg parents to have the tough talks with their kids.
I'm trying to save those children. I'm trying to save their lives.
Courtney Friedman, KSAT 12 News. Mia, I know this might come as a surprise to you, but we need rain.
Thank you for that. We do desperately need rain.
Here to help.
Yes, Courtney, thank you so much.
I did some forecasting.
She's an honorary meteorologist.
It's really dry out there.
She comes in this afternoon. It's hot outside. Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Listen, I'm not the scientist, okay? I'm not supposed to be doing all the numbers. I just know it's hot.
Live report. You heard it here first.
There we go.
Yes, we do need rain, and we have seen just how bad the drought has gotten over the past 6 weeks. I want to take you back in time. This was the drought monitor update that we got in early to mid-September. So this data was as of September 10th, after we saw almost 1.5 inches of rain in early September. In relation, not all that bad, relatively speaking. Yes, we had severe drought across portions of the hill country, but I'm going to go ahead and fade on the new drought monitor update. If you missed it that we got in on Thursday, you can see it is now a drastically different story, especially here in Bexar County, which, by the way, it has been over 1,000 days since Bexar County was officially considered to be drought-free. We now have extreme drought in place, encompassing much of San Antonio, stretching up to New Braunfels, Bernie, Bandera, Medina Lake, even Hondo. This burnt orange color that you see near Pleasanton, Floresville, that continues to expand farther off to the south and east as well. And then the vast majority of the rest of our region, this tan color is still very much in moderate drought. Now, the good news is we at least have some rain chances back in the forecast this week, though it is not going to be drought busting. Dry out there tomorrow, but a 20% chance for an isolated shower or two in the forecast as early as Tuesday. And then we bump that up slightly Thursday and into Friday. But even looking beyond that, there are indications that we could see even better rain chances and perhaps even some cooler temperatures work back into the first full week of November. So let's go ahead and talk about what we'll be monitoring in the long term. By this Wednesday and Thursday for Halloween, this is the frontal boundary that looks to stall just to the north of San Antonio, still with deeper moisture working back in. The energy associated with this boundary and that moisture will help to spark up a few spotty showers. Still not a washout for your trick-or-treat plans. That's going to lift on out of here into early next week, and then by November 4th to November 6th, in that time frame, that's when eyes will turn off to the north and west, where we could potentially see a stronger cold front work into the state of Texas. That could bring with it potentially some highs back in the 70s, maybe some lows in the 50s, along with better rain chances. So still a tricky forecast as we continue to get closer to that time frame. Of course, check back in with us for the latest, but it is at least encouraging to see that reflected in the 6 to 10 day outlook from the Climate Prediction Center, which I showed you a little bit earlier in the newscast. But in the meantime, still the opposite story here in San Antonio. Clear skies in place. We've got a temperature right around 80 degrees. We're going to start off tomorrow morning in the mid to upper 60s here in town, mostly cloudy skies, but by about lunchtime, that's when we'll start to see some of that break up, more peaks of sunshine returning into the second half of our Monday. 78 degrees expected around noon. There's that forecast high temperature right around 87 here in town. I do think a few low 90s will once again be in the cards for a few of us, especially out in Cotulla. 91 degrees, the forecast high temperature, 89 in New Braunfels, 90 out west in Del Rio. That 20% chance for a few isolated showers in the forecast Tuesday and Wednesday. Slightly better by Halloween and into Friday for your Halloween. Again, still unseasonably warm, highs in the mid 80s with that spotty chance for rain in the forecast. At the end of that 7-day fall back, the daylight saving time ends 2 a.m. next Sunday, November 3rd. Today, our sunset time was 6:51 p.m. Next Sunday, our sunset time will be 5:45 p.m. Wow. It won't be until January 18th where we see our next sunset in the 6 o'clock hour after that.
I completely forgot about this.
There you go. Here's your reminder a week in advance.
Thank you. We've been talking about other things.
Yes, very true.
All right. Thanks, Mia. We'll be right back with a preview of what's on Instant Replay tonight. The high school football regular season is winding down, and the 1-1 San Antonio Spurs have a busy week, and it starts tomorrow night with the Houston Rockets. For a preview of what's on Instant Replay, here's Larry Ramirez.
So the Spurs ended last week with the Rockets, and they're going to start the new week by facing the Rockets again. The Spurs will play 4 games this week, including their first set of back-to-back games this season, coming up tonight on Instant Replay.
No, they definitely had momentum. It was really just staying composed, staying together, communicating, and just finishing it through.
Down the stretch, it was a close game, and we executed down the stretch, made some winning plays, and it's just get ready for Monday.
Spurs led the Rockets by 22 points in the first half last night. Then the Rockets got the game within 1 possession for much of the final minutes, but the Spurs were able to hold them off to win the game 109-106. Perhaps it's a sign of the Spurs' new veteran leadership and how this young team is growing. The Central Catholic Student Section at Bob Benson 66 Stadium is always loud and proud. They know how to have fun and support their Buttons. Now the Week 9 is in the books. It's time for us to show you the best of big game coverage. We have best fans, best play, best run, and best hit. That is not the best pyramid, though, you will ever see. We've also got a brand new 12's Top 12, and we have some movement in the Class 6A, 5A, and the Sub 5A rankings, all that and more at the top of the hour.
Those pyramids are not easy.
They're not, so A for effort anyway.
I thought I was going to say A for effort. Congrats for trying. We'll be right back. That's all we've got on the news side of things. For all of us at KSAT 12, thanks for watching. Tune in to GMSA tomorrow morning for your overnight news. And all new instant replay starts right now.